Right, in this video, we concentrate on finding the domain, the range, the vertex, the zeros, the maximum value or the maximum point, the end behavior of the parabola. We're concentrating on the graph of quadratic functions, which is a U-shaped graph, and we call it parabola. In this graph, I'm going to highlight the vertex. The vertex is also known as the maximum point. So in this case, the vertex is located on -2 and the y value is 4. So to determine the domain, since we define domain will be the values, the set possible values of your x-axis. So in this case, we will examine the x-axis, which is from left to right. So this is your x-axis right here. And if you look at the values, ranges from left to right. There's no limit because if you look at your graph, it has two arrows pointing downward. So meaning you could extend your graph both sides, going to the left and to the right. So therefore, your possible values of x must be from -infinity to +infinity. Now let's examine the range. Range are possible values of your y. So if you look at your y-axis here and the graph, as you can see, the highest point is when y is equal to 4. And if you trace the graph going down, it doesn't end. It keeps going down to the -y values. So meaning the range would be starting from 4. So this symbol right here is including number 4 to the -infinity for your y values. This is using interval notations. Right, let me change the color for the zeros. Let me use orange probably. We can use that. So now, let's find out the zeros. Zeros is where your parabola intersected along the x-axis. So in this case, it's right here, a 0, 0, and -4, 0. So these 2 points are your zeros of this function. Now let's move on to maximum. This graph, since it's opening downward, so you cannot tell the minimum, however, you can tell the maximum. The highest point is also the vertex in this case. So this is the maximum point. It's located -2, 4. That's the same thing as the vertex. Now the next term that we have to get familiarized would be the end behavior of the function. This function, if you look at from left to right of the graph, the end point is pointing towards the bottom of your y-axis, so therefore it's decreasing because it's going down. Always look at the graph from left to right direction. Okay, let's move on to the x-intercept. So the x-intercept is where your graph intersected the x-axis. So in this case, the intersection point of your parabola on the x-axis is at point 0, 0 is right here. So now let's type that value inside. So we can have 0, 0. However, our y-intercept is where the parabola and your y-axis intersected. So in this case, if you trace your y-axis, which is the purple, and the parabola, the U-shaped graph, The intersection point is the same thing, is at 0, 0. So that's it. So the vertex, we define all these terms today. We give examples based on these terms. Now let's move on to the next graph, which is the one opening downward, opening upward parabola. In this case, the vertex is point 1 and -4. So located right here. That's the vertex. The domain, however, for this function, now let's highlight. Now we know domain will be the set of possible x values. So let's highlight the x-axis here. So from left to right, this is your x. Now, as you can see, the graph, it has arrows on both ends. So this means domain would be from -infinity to +infinity as well. So you can write down in interval notation, or you can write in word if you would. So you can use -infinity and +infinity. I'm just showing you another way of writing the answers for this if you don't want to use this math symbols for this. So the domain would be from -infinity to +infinity, because this graph has no ends in both directions. You can extend left to right. However, the range, there's a limit. If you look at the lowest point along the y-axis, let's highlight that purple. So this is your y-axis right here in purple. That's y. And the lowest point of your y, the lowest value is on -4. So therefore, the range must start from -4 all the way down to +infinity, because it's going up. Now, zeros is the same thing what we did in the first graph a while ago. It's the intersection of your, change the color to red, intersection of your parabola and the x-axis. So in this case, we have this point right here that's about negative, oops, that's -1. So you can see it better. So -1 and 0. So let's type that, -1, 0. And the other intersection of your parabola and x-axis is at, let's count. If this is the point of origin, so this is 1, 2, 3. So you always write the x coordinate first, so which is 3, 0. Because if you interchange this point, that's not exactly the same ordered pair. All right, let's move on to maximum. The maximum point here is not possible to find because you can't, the graph keeps going upwards, so you cannot determine the highest point. However, it's possible for us to find the minimum, which is the lowest point of this parabola. In this case, the minimum is also the vertex. So it's always that case with the parabola. So the vertex is always your maximum or minimum, depending on how the graph opens, upward or downward. So in this case, we have 1, -4. Oopsie, -4. Now, the end behavior, as what noted down here, you always look at your graph from left to right. So left to right direction, your graph ends here upward. So then you would say that the end behavior is just of this function is increasing. Okay, so then you will put increasing. The x-intercept is where your parabola intersected the x-axis. So this graph is quite different from what you had in the first example. So in this case, the x-axis is here and your parabola is right here. So there's two x-intercept in this case, which is also your 0. So this is your x-intercept here, and this is also your x-intercept here, which is also your zeros. However, your y-intercept is right, this point right here. That's your y-intercept. Okay, so let's fill in this information. There's two x-intercept. It's also the 0. So the 0 is -1, 0, and 3, 0. The y-intercept is 0, 1, 2, 3. So you didn't go right to left, so therefore your x is 0, however your y is -3. That is the ordered pair for your y-intercept. You can write it as an ordered pair, or you can write this y equals -3 as your y-intercept. Okay, that's all for this part, and let's continue more videos for tomorrow.